beast! Ah!
Hello, and welcome back to another installment of Not the Bees, the Nicolas Cage filmography podcast. My name is Megs.
I'm Elizabeth.
And this week we watched 1989's Vampire's Kiss. I had seen this movie one time before when I was a teenager, and
I had never seen it before.
It's the movie that made me be like, he's fucking crazy. And maybe that's really cool about him. So let's just get into it. So we open on Peter. He's lying on his therapist's couch. He's lamenting about how much he wanted this woman the night before, and he took her home, but the next morning he wanted her gone. And that seems to be the main point through the movie. What his therapy is about is his inability to find love. Next, we're at a blues bar. He's drinking and chatting up a young, pretty woman. They leave together, go back to his place. As they're starting to get into it, a bat flies in through the bedroom window. The girl freaks out and runs out of the apartment into the hallway while Peter tries very unsuccessfully to get the bat back out of the window. He grabs his clothes, and in the hallway, his date has already gotten dressed, and they aren't deterred. They stumble drunkenly from his building, laughing, and they hop in a cab. The next day, Peter is back at work. He's doing work stuff. He's looking for a contract, but can't find it, and he makes his assistant, Alva, go and hunt for it instead. He then stares out the window at a couple at a nearby hot dog stand, while another person in the office is calling to say he's got a call. Next, we're back at his building. The bat seems to have left the apartment. Peter finds one of the woman's stockings from the night before. We're now back at the therapist's office. He's not talking. He seems distracted. He goes to leave, but she presses him for what's on his mind. He explains about the situation with the bat, and that after the woman ran out screaming, fighting the bat actually turned him on. He leaves. She says she'll see him on Tuesday. Back at work, Alva still hasn't found the contract. He tells her off. She says she'll try again. That night, Peter gets dressed to go out with his boys, but he's not interested in what they're saying, so he goes to hit on another woman instead. This is where he meets Rachel. They go home. They don't even have sex. They're just on his bed, and she bites him on the neck. The next morning, instead of his normal routine where he gets ready to kind of make his guests leave, he makes them coffee, and we see him bring it to the bed and try to hand the cup to her, but she isn't there anymore. Next, we're seeing him at a museum. Jackie, who is the girl that he picked up at the beginning of the movie, they're looking around. He seems disinterested in their activity and goes to the bathroom. But then he leaves and jumps in a taxi, leaving her at the museum all by herself. At home, he's laying on the couch. Jackie calls. She leaves a message on the answering machine telling him, never call her again. Next, we're back in therapy, and the doctor asks about the Band-Aid on his neck. He says he cut himself shaving. She goes back to the bat incident, but he doesn't really remember. Then he says it must have been from being horny with the girl and drunk as well. Back at work, he gets a call, and the person that wants a copy of the contract that he's looking for is on the phone. He calls Alva in, and he gives her a dressing down before he actually answers the call, and then makes her listen while he tells the client that he hasn't found it. But the client is calling to say that there's no rush. He knows it's an old contract, and it will take some time. So when he gets off the phone, Peter looks at Alva and tells him that the client's words were coded. He's furious, and if he doesn't get it by the end of the week, he'll drop the firm. This is a literary agency, by the way, that he works at. Then he threatens to fire her and fucks off work for the rest of the day instead of helping her. Like, a regular person. That night at a diner, he has a freak out over not being served fast enough, and he leaves, only to grasp his neck in pain on the way out. He runs into an apartment building that I'm not sure if that's his, but there's a payphone, and he uses it in the lobby to call his doctor, but he gets the voicemail. So he calls Jackie instead. He says he's really sorry for leaving the museum. He had a good reason, some illness or other. He likes her. She agrees to meet him at 9 p.m. He leaves to go home to inspect his neck, and then there's a knock at the door. He goes to answer it, and while he's walking to the door, we get a shot of the outside steps, then the steps in the lobby. Then he answers the door, but there's no one there. He goes back inside, and he sits down, clearly rattled. Then he gets up to leave to go and meet Jackie. As he's leaving the building, Rachel comes down from the stairs behind him and tells Peter that she's his lover and she's a jealous lover and takes him back upstairs. Meanwhile, pissed that she was stood up, Jackie writes a note on a napkin and leaves the bar that they're at, or that she's at. And then back at Peter's the whole time that she's writing this note on a napkin, Rachel's just draining him. The next day at work, he's clearly out of it. He keeps calling for Alva at increasing volume until he finally gets up and storms into the outer office, where she runs away from him to the ladies' room and tells him that she's been looking for it, but she has a gun if he tries to hurt her. Peter apologizes and leaves. Next, we see Alva going through a stack of files while Peter goes to a meeting. And then he regales the board of the story of being in the bathroom, being threatened by Alva with a gun. They find it hilarious. Another day done, back at home. Peter gets the note Jackie wrote. She taped it to his mailbox and it says, "Stay out of my life." He tears it up and is clearly distressed. He starts to trash his apartment. During this, we keep cutting back to Alva on the subway. For some reason, it seems ominous, but nothing ever really actually happens there. Next, we see him back at the therapist's office, and he explains his issue at the office with the contract. The doctor suggests that it could have been misfiled, and he loses his shit, which includes him screaming the entire alphabet at her. And then he calms and says it's a bit bright in her office. Back at work, he walks to the office in sunglasses, smoking and snapping his fingers. He calls for Alva, says he hopes she no longer is upset, blames his outburst on mescaline, then asks her why she has her coat on. She still hasn't found the contract. She should work some overtime. She suggests having someone else do the job, or at least, appoint someone to help, and Pete tells her that no one else can. She's the lowest on the totem pole, and even if someone was there a day longer than her, he still wouldn't ask them to do it. He's actually really fucking nasty to her in this moment, and threatens to fire her again. He goes home. As he's walking with groceries, he comes upon a church. It's got a big blue neon cross, and he falls to his knees. Then he runs off without his groceries. At home, the phone rings. He's crawling to it on the floor, but Rachel is there, and she throws him on the bed and tells him to tell her that he loves her. He tells her, and she bites him. The next day, they're watching, after they've gone through this that night, they're watching Nosferatu on the bed, and he looks very out of it. She tells him sweet dreams and lays down to go to sleep. The next morning, he's showering and calls her into the shower, but she doesn't appear to be there. He hisses when he gets dressed after touching the mirror. In the kitchen, he catches a cockroach and eats it from the stove. He walks into the office chipper, then calls for Alva, but is told that she called off with a bad cold. He doesn't believe it. At her house, she tells her mother that her boss is a bastard and she's not going in. She hates him. Her mother talks her into going because her and her father won't give her any more money. At the office, Peter pulls Alva's address and takes a cab to her house. He peeps through her window while she's in the living room ironing while she's just wearing a bra. She says she's calling the police. He tells her he's sorry for how he treated. He took a $20 cab ride and brought her a pack of soup. She opens the door and says she worked until 1 a.m., couldn't find the contract. She's not really sick, but she was afraid to go back. He says screw the client. If he wants to leave the agency, he can. He's got a cab waiting. The trip is on him. She gets dressed. They go back to the office. On the way, he's giving her a huge lecture about business, and that today is the day that she'll find that damn contract. He has an outburst and appears to get very nauseous. Alva says her brother works in a gas station that they're approaching. Is it okay to stop? Peter says okay. Alva runs in and tells her brother she's freaked out and asks him for the bullets to her gun. He says that he's only got blanks, so she takes them. When she gets back, they drive to the office. She's looking for the contract when Peter comes and puts a hand on her shoulder, says he just paid almost $50 to get her to the office. It better be worth it. Then he goes to the restroom. He splashes water on his face, but can't seem to find his reflection, even though we can clearly see him. He is now convinced that he's a vampire. Back in his office, he canceled all of his calls and closes his blinds and screams like, it's impossible, it's impossible. Later that night, Alva's still looking for the contract while Peter is being drained in his office by Rachel. Alva does find the contract and goes to bring it to him, but he's not answering, and then he starts having hallucinations of the cab driver who took him to and from Alva's about not finding the right woman. Peter finally goes to open the door. Alva says she found it, but Peter says it's too late. He chases her back through the office. She grabs her purse on the way that has the bag in it. He chases her all the way down the stairwell and into the basement. She points her gun at him and he tells her to shoot him or he'll fire her. She begs him not to rape her. He says he will if she doesn't shoot. She shoots at the floor a few times before he just rushes at her and rips her dress open and then goes to maybe take a bite of her neck. She appears to pass out. And then while he's doing whatever he's doing to her, she turns into Rachel, who laughs at him. He reaches over and picks up Alva's gun and tries to kill himself by putting it in his mouth. But that's when he realizes that he can't die, I guess. I guess he doesn't realize that it's blanks. He tries to collect himself and wake Alva up and tell her that he's a vampire, but she actually won't wake up. The next we see him, he's running down a sidewalk screaming, "I'm a vampire! I'm a vampire! I'm a vampire!" to very worried-looking passerby. At home, he further destroys his apartment like he's looking for something. The next morning, he's lying under his overturned couch, and Rachel walks up to him. He says he's hungry. She tells him now that he is like her, you know what you have to do. Back at Alva's, she's locked in her room. She won't get out of bed. She's got a black eye. Her mother tells her her father and her brother over the breakfast table. Her brother looks worried. He goes to check on her brother. He goes to check on her. He knocks on the door. She doesn't open it. She doesn't say anything. He says he'll be at work if she wants to talk. At Peter's house, he's clutching a pillow on his bed and then ripping the phone out of the wall when it rings. Then he goes to a specialty shop to get a set of fake fangs. He sits on a bench. He puts them in. He's very excited. And then he starts stalking around the city as a vampire. He calls his doctor from a payphone to make his appointment sooner. She tells him to come in on Monday at 7:30. She'll come in early to see him. He agrees and hangs up. And then he grabs a pigeon from the street. He takes it home and eats it raw. Apparently with his plastic fangs in. I'm not sure. Then he sets an alarm and he goes back to bed under the overturned couch. The next day is Sunday, the Lord's Day. And Peter wakes up after sundown. He gets dressed and leaves to wander the city like Nosferatu. Literally, like Nosferatu. He gets to a club. He forces his way in. He walks through throngs of people with his eyes super wide and creepy until he finds a room that's almost empty except for one girl doing cocaine. The girl is laughing at his display as he sits down, and there's words said, but we don't get to hear them. Then he attacks her and bites her. She screams, but we can't hear it. She doesn't seem that bloody, but she's unresponsive as he leaves. He gags in a different part of the club, and other people clear out. Rachel shows up. She rips his fake teeth out and calls him pathetic. He says he loves her. She says that he disgusts her and spits in his face. She leaves with a different guy that we've never met before named Donald, who might be another vampire. From here, Peter stumbles after them. He finds Rachel and confronts her, but she doesn't seem to recognize him. She acts like he's a crazy person, and security throws him out. Outside, he's telling anybody that'll listen that he's a vampire. He can prove it. Does anyone have a gun? Someone makes a symbol of a cross and tells him to go home. The sun's almost up, and he runs off. As the sun is coming up, he's running through the streets, begging someone to kill him. He can't take this. We cut to Alva's house. She tells her brother what happened with Peter. She looks up his address in a phone book, and her and her brother set off to his place. From here, Peter is seen in an alley. He's breaking apart a pallet to make a steak and tries to get pedestrians to kill him for being a vampire. He goes to a church and begs someone to hold a rosary up to him. He doesn't like the bells. Then he's wandering the streets, moaning loudly, dragging his pallet steak behind him. He passes a newsstand. On the front page, the girl that he attacked at the club did die. In his apartment, Alva and her brother have arrived. He tells Alva to point Peter out when she sees him. But Peter is still in the street. He imagines himself at his therapist, and he's just standing looking ridiculous. He's clean in his delusion, but he's still carrying the stake in the delusion in her office. He says he wants a change, love. And while he's on this tirade of love, the therapist is crying with laughter, says if he had just told her, she would have set him up with the patient that comes in after him. Then, like magic, the patient, who is named Sharon, is at the door. She comes in and lists off some of the things that Peter likes. The two go and leave. Then Peter turns and says he raped a girl at the office a few nights ago, just lost control. His delusion of the doctor says not to worry. Peter tells her that he also murdered a girl last night. He turned into a vampire. The delusion doctor says not to worry, people get murdered all the time. Now he's just walking down the road talking to Sharon on the way back to his apartment building. Alva points him out as she sees him. Her brother follows him into the building with a tire iron. In his apartment, he's arguing with Sharon again in the ruins of everything around him. Alva's brother enters the apartment quietly while he's having this argument. He turns the couch over to find Peter under it, tells Peter to get up, but Peter just grabs the pallet steak and holds it to his chest, and Alva's brother pushes it through and Peter dies. We see Rachel one more time against a black background telling Peter to dream of her. The end. The first hour of this movie is so dry and boring, and I'm gonna be honest with you, I cannot fucking stand his accent.
Oh, his
At
accent,
all.
it's something.
Alva, there is no one else in this entire office that I could possibly ask to share such a horrible job. You're the lowest on the totem pole here, Alva. The lowest. Do you realize that?
It's definitely something. For sure, but it's terrible.
It's not great. It's I love that when he's talking to Sharon in his delusion, he's telling her that he was born and raised in Philadelphia, but he's been in New York for 14 years now. And I'm like, then where the fuck did this accent come from?
Literally, where did this accent come from? Because I'm trying to get the most money. It sounds like a hybrid of California Valley Girl and
European.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just awful. And you can hear him through the movie, he keeps dropping the accent.
Yeah.
Anytime that he goes a little bit crazy, he drops the accent a little bit. But this movie is very weird.
So I, like you, struggled to get through the first half of this movie. It's not good, the first half. It's very dry. He's a brute.
Yeah.
It's very...
Actually, you know what? I wouldn't call him a brute. I would say that he is an entitled, white-collar, prep school educated asshole.
Yeah.
Because, he's not, a jock, right? So he doesn't even seem sportsman-y. He just has money and connections, and he uses that as a way to, browbeat people, but he's really just, an effete asshole.
Yeah, he really is. He also has a unibrow.
Yeah, he does.
Jennifer Beals is great throughout the whole movie.
She is.
But I have written here as a note, what is he doing with Alva? Which is the point where he starts berating her that she should get overtime, that why do you have your coat on? Where do you think you're going? And then he calls her a cunt.
Yeah.
Really loudly.
For no fucking reason.
Right.
The contract that they're looking for is 20 or 30 years old.
And it's clearly been misfiled.
Right. And it's literally just a special request from an old client because he wants to be able to frame it. And somehow this search for a misfiled contract is a catalyst for his madness.
It is. And today, Alva could file a lawsuit a mile long for a toxic work environment. And that's before he hits her and tries to rape her.
Right.
But those protections were not necessarily in place back in the late 80s.
Yeah, boo.
But the point at which it becomes clear that he's having a fever dream, this movie takes on a whole new context. And it becomes like I couldn't take my eyes off of it.
Yeah.
It becomes so interesting and so engrossing when he fully embraces the madness and you're brought along fully into the madness with him. And I think for me, that moment is when he goes to the bathroom and he splashes water on his face and he looks in the mirror and suddenly he snaps back to reality and he starts yelling, "Where am I? Where am I?
Yeah.
Where have I been? What am I doing?" And it's very clear that he's lost time.
Yeah.
And he has no concept of where he's been for possibly days.
Yeah. And at that point, he looks in the mirror and he suddenly can't see himself and he slides right back into the delusion.
Right. And he starts yelling, "I'm a vampire." And it becomes... the movie itself becomes so engrossing the more all-encompassing his madness becomes.
Yeah, I agree.
I could not stop laughing when he buys the plastic vampire teeth.
I full on had to pause it.
And is just so proud of himself
Yeah.
First, he wants to buy this, like, really nice pair of vampire teeth, but he looks in his wallet and he doesn't have any money because he paid for the cab ride.
And by the way,
Alva.
back in $1989, the nice fangs that he wanted, which were like, I think $20.
Yeah, $19.99.
Yeah.
That would have been so expensive.
Yeah.
I thought that the cheapy ones at $3.50 were overly priced.
For 1989, that's incredibly expensive. I feel like they
Yeah.
were like 50 cents a piece.
Right.
Yeah. But like when he gets out of the shop and he goes over and sits down on a bench with his little brown bag.
He's so proud of himself in that moment. He
And
is
yeah, he's giddy.
beaming. He's beaming.
But he's also like trying to secret what he's got in the bag, like it's drugs or something, like nobody look what I got. But when he puts them in, he has this moment that comes across his face like
he's giddy.
It's to me it's a combination of relief because he also on another hand feels like himself. Like putting the fangs in was almost at that moment you can see on his face like his identity becoming real.
Yes.
Whatever identity he's now, having. His facial work in this movie, even from the beginning when it was boring, is so it's exacting. You know without a shadow of a doubt what's playing on his face at all times.
Yes. And if that's a little too subtle for you, sometimes the script will knock you over the head and just verbally say it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like when he realizes he's a vampire, he verbally sings that to the world.
Yeah.
There is no nuance there to play.
Yeah. And like when he's really in like the throes of his delusion, everything that he says is literally just like a verbal assault.
Yeah.
There's a lot of anger in his portrayal of this character.
Yes.
Like there's a lot of like unfulfilled, like seething rage for some. We don't even honestly know the reason. We don't know anything about Peter's backstory other than what he tells
the psychiatrist
that, he went to Philadelphia and then he's been in the city for 14 years. Outside of that, we don't know anything about him, his family, where he came from.
How he got his job. We don't know how he makes his money.
And honestly, like, it's kind of interesting to come into a movie with such overt psychological delusion, and we're coming in just as it starts.
Yes.
So, like, we don't have any backstory to it, but somehow that doesn't detract from what's happening.
I agree.
It's a lot that's just, it's, I don't know what the thought process when I'm going into, like, writing this movie, but from my perspective, from watching it, it's almost like the mania that someone probably feels during a midlife crisis, because your entire identity during that point is, like, up in the air, and you don't know who you are. And it probably is oversimplified, but becoming a vampire is his sports car purchase or something. And he just, it is riding the wheels off of it. He's fucking crazy.
This movie, in lesser hands, could have been a comedy.
Yeah, I think so. I think you're probably right.
And the fact that Nick Cage plays it so straight and honest makes it a heartbreaking portrayal of a man of madness instead of a comedy.
Yeah, because it is kind of a rough watch. It's a good movie, and it is, like you said, it's very engrossing. It was hard. Go ahead. It was hard for me to get through like the first hour because we ping pong back and forth, like kind of rapid fire. It's kind of like Whiplash. And it's not even until like, over halfway through the movie that his delusion finally starts to really like blossom. You see bits and pieces of it before then, especially in the way that he has any kind of discourse with his assistant, who, that poor woman, I honestly wish that she had been the one to kill him with her gun.
Right.
Because there was just so much emphasis on that up until the point that she used it in the basement with the blanks. And then no more gun or whatever, but at least her brother killed him. I can't imagine how much more dangerous a person like that could become if left unchecked. Sucks her brother's a murderer, but so is he. So is Peter.
I mean, what's going to happen to Alva's? So, first of all, it is the scene where he bites the girl on the neck is so grody. It is so, it's not at all the like loving vampires embrace that we've seen Rachel give to him.
Yeah.
Where it's seductive and it's slow and it's tender.
Mm-hmm.
It is instead a violent act.
Yeah.
Where he literally sinks his human teeth into this woman's neck. When he pulls away, you can see the full bite mark
Yeah.
of his mouth. And there's blood everywhere. He's covered in blood. She's gushing blood. And all I could think is like a real vampire would be like so high right now because she did a lot of cocaine. But that's when he runs out and finds Rachel, his delusion Rachel, who tells him that she's disgusted with him. And there's no reason for this turn in his mind except that he's disgusted with himself.
Yeah.
And that's coming through the Rachel character as a transformative figure standing in for his madness.
Yeah. I actually want to go back to something that you had said just a couple minutes ago about the scene in the club and how vicious it was on the girl and how, comparatively speaking with Rachel, she's very sensual when she attacks him.
Yeah.
But, I mean, in those spaces when she is draining him, you can tell he's really just a dead fish.
Yeah.
And there's like a distraught, very vacant look on his eyes while it's happening. So even though she comes in as this temptress, she's very sensual, she's very, handsy, feely kind of thing. This movie, even though it portrays vampires as being beautiful, they're still very much fucking monsters. And not to be trifled with. Because Rachel's a beautiful woman. She's clearly sinister. And, like, it doesn't even matter that she's all of these great things because she's still absolutely a fucking monster.
So I guess, I mean, the way it's presented to the audience is you can choose one of two options. Is Rachel really a vampire? And is this really happening to him? Or does he bring this woman home one night and then just have a delusion about her being a vampire?
Honestly, no idea. Because it brings up so many questions, right? Like, just thinking about, like, the things going on in his delusion, because you don't know if she's even a real person. She could have been a real person that he just hit on at the club that one night with his boys.
She was a real person that he hit on, that he took home. She really bit his neck, and that he really sees her at the club at the end.
Maybe, I guess.
She, like, doesn't recognize him in that moment because all they had was a one-night stand. And his delusion happens like that. It's so fast because you remember he is... the next morning making coffee and brings coffee to the bed and he's trying to hand it to her, but there's nobody there and his hand is shaking as he's holding the saucer and the cup.
Yeah.
So something triggered this in him. If you look at it as a man who is dealing with a delusional state, something happened to him that night that he brought her home.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe the night before when he was fighting with the bat.
Yeah.
That brought on a state of hysteria and delusion for this man.
Yeah.
Or you can look at it as Rachel being a real person who's really fucking with him through the whole movie, is really draining him, is really causing his psychosis to amp up. And the moment when he breaks is when she turns against him.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that because when he goes through the club at the end to find her with Donald, At first she acts like she doesn't know who he is at all, but then as security is pulling him out, her and Donald share a look that seems to be knowing. But again, we don't know if he is seeing this look from the point of his delusion or if it's something that actually occurred.
Yeah.
In this universe that they live in. But yeah, I mean, you can definitely see it from both points of view, I think. I tend to think that she was a real person that he took home, and the next morning we see him doing what we assume is his typical, like, I'm going to get ready, like I'm going to work thing, where he's shaving before he takes the coffee. So she very well may have left while he's doing his whole, I'm getting ready so that you know, without me having to say it, get the fuck out. And then the switch in his mind is just like, I'm going to make her coffee in bed. And that's kind of where it really starts. And it's a little bit heartbreaking to watch, especially the last 15 minutes are really difficult to watch because
it's a man dealing with madness.
Right. And not even just madness, but the consequences of his own actions.
Yes.
He's in the delusion that he has when he's holding a steak on the street where he thinks he's in his doctor's office. Like he tells his doctor that he raped a woman. He tells his doctor that he murdered a girl. And like he clearly had a break, went on, I wouldn't call it a rampage, a tirade, maybe, through New York. And he clearly understands what he has done, but he just doesn't have the capacity to understand that what he's done are like, they're crimes.
They're real.
They're real. And I mean, it's kind of split, right? Because in his delusion, everything is fine. There's no problem. But in real life, standing on the street, holding that steak with blood covering him, mouth, front of his shirt, everything. It's like he's split between, you know, this delusion where it doesn't matter, and then the reality of it does matter, and like not knowing how to reconcile that, which I think is why, honestly, I think he was waiting for someone to come into his apartment and help him with that steak. Because when Alva's brother turns the couch over, he doesn't even hesitate. He doesn't even try to get up. He doesn't say anything.
He just offers the steak.
He just grabs the steak, holds it up, and puts it on his chest and starts trying to push it through. And her brother takes about half a second to think about it, and then he comes over and he just right into his chest. I mean...
So I prefer to think that all of this was a delusion. All of this is madness in his brain. And that he really took Rachel home and he really had a night with her. And then she literally fucks off until the end of the movie.
Yeah.
That she's not really there. She's not really draining him. Like, this is all a part of his delusion. And him reconciling that, buried deep inside him, he knows the truth.
Yeah.
And trying to reconcile the truth of, I have lost my marbles, with, I just killed a girl. And
after raping another.
After attempting to rape another. I don't think he actually rapes Alva.
I don't know if he did either.
Beats her. He beats her unconscious.
Well, yeah, he definitely caused her to become unconscious after chasing her through an entire building. Like, I can't imagine the level of terror that a woman would experience.
But I don't believe he raped her, because he immediately takes the gun and tries to kill himself.
Yeah.
So this is a man who is really caught between himself and his monster side, just completely coming apart at the seams.
Yeah.
And I kind of find it refreshing that they don't give us any backstory. They don't give us any reasoning for his madness. Like, you're just along for the ride, baby.
Yeah.
Just hook on. I find this movie fascinating on many levels.
Yeah, it is. But I mean, I had the same, issue as I think you did, was like the first half of the movie is just very dry. We're not, like, there's, touches of madness that are going on. But up until it gets to the point where he starts, like, because for the most part, until, like, he really, like, cracks and slips into his delusion, he's really only having the issue, like, when he is at home.
Right.
But when it starts to seep into his work at the office, him being just out in clubs and stuff like that, it is fascinating. And there's not a whole lot of movies that I am able to gain the ability to forget that I'm watching an actor. And it doesn't really happen with Nicolas Cage in general because it's Nicolas Cage. But there were moments in this movie where I forgot that I was watching a movie and it looked like I was just watching like the crumbling consciousness of, or not consciousness,
Conscience.
conscience, I guess, of this guy that's been clearly an asshole really his whole life, right? Like, even though we don't know much about him, it's very clear that he's affluent, that he came from
Yes, he's
something that
upper
had
class.
privilege. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like, if it was just maybe the bat coming into the bedroom that first night with Jackie or not, but yeah, it's fascinating. We could probably talk about this movie for like 2 or 3 more hours, honestly.
So what are we going to rate this movie?
I don't think I want to give it an A.
Really?
Yeah, I don't, just because like the first half of the movie is just because you can't get to the parts that are fascinating and enthralling and that just suck you in without having to get through the very dry and boring first act. And to me, I feel like until you get to the point where it becomes this thrilling, engrossing, diluted mess where you realize, oh, well, you needed all of the drive at the beginning, but like you have to get there in order to appreciate it. So for me, it's not an A. I think I'd be okay giving it like a B+.
Okay, I can live with a B+. What do we give the caginess of it?
I think that is an A.
I think it's an A+.
Yeah, I'll agree with that, because even during the dry, boring bits during the first act, like his ability to act this film is just, you see it. You never have any question about the character that he's playing.
No.
And like his facial expressions, like incredible work.
Yeah. I can't say enough good things about his acting in this.
Yeah, it was definitely really good. But listener, if you've listened to this episode and you like what we're doing, you can always find us on socials, on Instagram at Not the Beast Pod. And if you enjoy what we're doing enough that you would like to support us in any monetary fashion, you can find us on patreon.com/notthebees. We would definitely appreciate any support. We would also love it if you would engage with this episode or any of the other ones that we have on any podcasting app where you get your podcasts. Comment, share, subscribe, whatever. I don't have anything else to say about this movie, though. Do you?
I could talk about this movie for days.
I mean, yeah, we could, but for the sake of the cast, I think we're
we've
already at like 40
long
minutes.
enough. Yeah.
All right. Well, I mean, again, this is a bit of a thrill ride. If you, listener, are interested, we would definitely say give this one a watch. It's definitely worth it. But yeah, we don't have anything else. So for this week, I've been Megs.
I've been Elizabeth.
And we'll see you next time.